So there ain't been a whole lot of updates in the last few weeks because I haven't had parts, but we did get a bunch of stuff in. So I'm excited to get started. I got enough stuff to get the motor put together and maybe get it in the car today. Once I get the motor in the car, I can start doing wiring and stuff like that. I haven't really wanted to put the Holley harness and stuff in the car because I don't know where everything's going to land in this chassis. So now that the motor's going to be going in, I'll be able to lay everything out and actually once I get the harness and stuff done and car starting, and throwing the rest of the stuff together is just a cake. So we're gonna go over a few little things I've done off camera and we're gonna jump into the motor. So last video, I showed you where I installed the bash bars, but I haven't showed the oil cooler setup. I mentioned how I was gonna set everything up, but last week I actually got my oil coolers in and I welded these tabs on so I could mount the oil coolers right here. This is where I wanna put them. And you can see, I haven't TIG welded in a very long time and I do not claim to be a TIG welder, but I don't think that was too bad. I mean, I kind of glued it together. But these are gonna work pretty good. I'm just gonna use one bolt and I actually got some aluminum rod and 150 mil long bolts that I'm gonna run through. I'm gonna bolt through the top. I'm gonna have a big long spacer and I'm just gonna have one bolt to hold these on. Just in the event we have a crash or something, it's not real rigid. It's gonna be solid enough to keep it in place, but not enough to where it may damage it. Hopefully, if I do get in an accident and maybe it'll just rip one corner out of the oil cooler, not 100% sure, but these oil coolers are cheap enough. And if I do damage one, I'll have the stuff to block one of them off. Because as you can see, I'm running two of them. And they are mounted sideways, but if you think about drifting, I'm going sideways. With the oil cooler mounted in the front, it doesn't see really no air when I'm drifting. So that's kind of the idea behind having two oil coolers. I'm kind of proud of that. But let's jump into this motor. I finally got my heads back from Texas Speed. I sent a set of 6.2 truck heads off. Got another set right there. And they looked about as bad as those. I was gonna buy a set of new PRC heads, but one of my sponsors, Shift Fast Performance, they were able to send these off for me and get these ported, and it was really a super good deal. So they say PRC on them now. I mean, these things cleaned up beautifully. I mean, they honestly look like brand new heads. They machined the exhaust surface, they machined the side surfaces. Even the intake surface is machined. I had them take about 20 thousandths off the deck. But them are my old valves and everything. I mean, this thing looks brand new. Nice ported head. So I'm excited to get this engine put together and at least get this thing in. So here's some of the parts we're gonna be using. 10295, it's like my go-to pump. This is actually Mellon's like performance pump. It's got like a anodized coating on it. So it's a super nice pump. I love those, never had issues out of those. Texas Speed LS7 style lifters. I had a lot of good luck with these. I've used a bunch of these. The last engine, we run that thing 7,200 RPM all season, no issue whatsoever. Got my custom TIG performance cam. They spec'd this out for what I'm gonna be doing with all the things that I got going on with the engine. So I'm excited to try that. I think a lot of people overcam their cars, and I definitely feel like I had mine overcammed last year. And I had a lot of power up top, but none in the mid-range where I needed it. So this is gonna solve our problem, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Got our new timing cover, timing chain, cam cover, cam gear, convert to it's a 4X with 3 bolt holes, new trays, lifter trays, new head bolts from the dealer head gaskets, oil pan gasket. I love the dealer parts. They're pretty much about the same price as going to AutoZone and getting a shitty Fel Pro, or Fel Blow as I like to call it. So I guess I'm gonna dive into this, get this thing put together and hopefully get it in today. That's my goal for today, get the motor in. I'm down to like a month and a half before this thing's gotta be done. And I really, really wanna get it done very soon. So this is like a big task. This is one of those, just get the motor in. Once the wiring, that's gonna be like a whole separate thing. Once the wiring is done, then I'm gonna feel like I'm going downhill with this and it's gonna be done. As far as like doing the new angle kit, everything like that, that's just gonna be, like I said, cakewalk, easy stuff. So let's jump into the motor and get that thing put together. All right, so engine's together. It's ready to go in. Still gotta get my valley cover put on. I gotta order one of those. Oil pan's on. Got our super damper on. And I got the rock arms just sitting on there for now because I did my measurement. And I had to order a set of push rods to get the correct preload on the lifters. So got those coming from Tick. Yeah, and these 6.2 truck heads, basically an LS3 head, they turned out so good. I mean, they look like brand new heads. It's pretty sick. So I'm excited to get this thing put in. Start on the wiring. So there's one more thing I want to show you before we end this video, and it's going to be how I'm going to get the Terminator harness through the firewall. So there's a bunch of different ways I was going to do this, and I was going to use a big rubber grommet, but from where I put the factory ECU inside at the floorboard, I actually cut a big hole in here, kind of in a hurry, trying to make it to an event, and because I lost round one because my computer got full of water. So I just kind of put a big hole in the fiberglass firewall and left it at that, and just run my harness through. And I had to make the hole kind of big for the factory ECU connectors. So I've been looking at this one product for a couple weeks, and I finally pulled the trigger on it, and I'm glad I did. It's made by Sharp Performance. It's a billet aluminum firewall, like bulkhead piece. It's got two holes, one for the Terminator harness, the actual big hole, and then it gives you another hole to run like the power wire straight to the battery and a few other wires if you need to. So I'm gonna show you that now. So if we come in here and look, that's where I had my actual factory wires run through, because the factory computer sits down here on the frame rail. And what I did for one of the events, I actually got put out of round one because my computer got full of water because of where it's mounted down there. Having a Corvette with an angle kit, I had to get rid of the inner fender that blocked it. So what I did after round one, I just kind of put a big hole in the firewall after I took the AC dryer out. And I just kind of left it. I was kind of short on time, but I had to cut the hole kind of big, so I couldn't really put a rubber grommet. And I found this one, I looked at it for a couple of weeks, and I went ahead and pulled the trigger on it, and I'm glad I did because it is super nice. It's made by Sharp Performance. Got the back plate that bolts to the firewall with them through bolts. So what I did was I just drilled 4 holes. I already had a hole there. I just had to do a little bit of trimming. It's kind of a big rectangle hole. And you pass your harness through. Once you get ready to finish the job up, you take these 2 halves, put them around the harness, and you just bolt it on, and it's super nice. Like, it's so well machined. You can't even feel where it goes together here, so there's no chance of it rubbing through your harness. The Holley main harness fits perfect in here. It's like amazing. So I'm happy with this. I'm glad I bought it. It's around 80 bucks, and it's well worth the money. So I was gonna go ahead and put the motor in, but I ordered the new Tick Performance Slave measuring tool. So I wanna kind of do another video, because I did a video last year on how to do your air gap on your slave cylinder, like your clutch air gap. And Tick come out with a new, like, nice billet tool. So I went ahead and ordered that, and I figured it'd be worth showing how to use that with the motor out and the torque tube like right beside it, so we can kind of, they sell a kit. But I went ahead and bought the upgraded one that comes with the one for like the regular T56 cars and the Corvettes, because it's not the same tool. I think there's a few pieces that change in it, but it's a super nice tool. Can't wait to get in there and like use it, because it's gonna make life so much easier setting up air gap. Which the method I used before wasn't bad, it worked, but I think this tool is gonna be a game changer for that, as far as time. And because there's a lot of people that don't even measure clutch air gap and they get away with it, but there's been times where I've checked it and it's been way off and I've had to shim it. Just like on this car, I had to shim it. So once that comes in, I'm gonna do a video on that. But I guess that's gonna be it for this one. So stick along, we appreciate you watching, and we'll see you in the next one.